2023 Ford Maverick XL Hybrid, the best daily driver for under $40,000. Don't believe me? Well, just keep watching and I'll explain to you why I think this is true. Now, XL in Maverick speak means base. It does not get cheaper with this car in the Ford Maverick family. You get steelies, you get a lot of black plastic, and just like my Ford Bronco, this is the bottom of the totem pole in Ford Maverick land. Now, that means something quite unique in the Ford Maverick world. The cheapest model is actually the hybrid model. So if you want that $22,595 before destination MSRP, you got to opt for the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine that leverages an electric motor with a teeny tiny battery to get you 191 horsepower and an undisclosed number of torque. Now, that engine and full hybrid powertrain is paired to a CVT, and I know your initial thoughts, right? It's how can a pickup truck that's front-wheel drive with under 200 horsepower be any fun or engaging, or hell, even get me up to highway speeds? Well, that's what we're going to do right off the bat with a quick acceleration test up to 50. Take a listen. Hitting that 50 mile an hour with ease, this hybrid motor does have a deceivingly high amount of pep. While that pep drastically reduces as you increase your speed early on, that quick jolt of electric-like juice is there. So you definitely don't feel like this car is slow, sluggish, or takes a lot of time to get up to speed. Now, taking a listen right now, you can actually hear that the Ford Maverick XL is very composed and quiet at highway speeds. The engine cuts out when it can, the batteries kick in when they can, and the car overall is very, very quiet. Now, part of this for me personally is because I'm hopping out of a Bronco and into a Ford Maverick, so I definitely acknowledge the fact that this car is immensely quieter than my Ford Bronco, but the truth remains that this Ford Maverick Hybrid cruises very quiet at 50 to 60 miles an hour. Take a quick listen again. You don't hear much, you hear light amounts of wind noise, and I've owned a Lariat hybrid, and this car isn't significantly louder, making the overall Maverick package one to write home about. Ford truly nailed the dynamics of this car. It sounds great on the highway. But $40,000 is a pretty high bar to hold this $22,595 Maverick to if I'm calling this the best daily driver. So what goes into that? Why am I giving this Maverick specifically the designation of best daily driver under $40,000? Well, the first thing is something we just went over. It's that hybrid drivetrain. You can get that 2.5-liter with 191 horsepower, and this car around town routinely sees above 40. Hey, look, another Maverick. Hello. Sorry, I tend to get distracted. It's kind of like a squirrel behind the wheel sometimes. But anyway, the hybrid drivetrain for this car is key. You get well over 40 miles to the gallon around town. I've seen above 50, as has this owner, with ease. You're not doing anything crazy behind the wheel. You're not hypermiling to get those numbers. If you drive like an average person, you can get 50 miles to the gallon in an around the town scenario like this, no problem. That's number one. Number two, on the highway, you actually see mid to high 30s. So while hybrids tend to be less efficient on the highway, where they get into their own is really around town, this car does fine on the highway, especially for something that's, you know, a pickup truck, which leads us to number three. The Ford Maverick is a pickup truck, which means it has immense levels of practicality. So it combines almost world-class hybrid numbers with pickup truck practicality. You can take this car to Home Depot. You can take this car to Lowe's. You can take this car to your department store. Hell, you can have a big grocery trip for a Super Bowl Sunday, and you can have and be rest assured that you have all the room you need. You got trash day? Don't worry. It's not enclosed in your car like it would be if you had a hatchback or an SUV. It's out in the back. It's outside. It's in the elements. You're not getting those smells in the car and in the cabin with you. So the pickup truck utility is one of the big factors that the Maverick has going for it. The next one is that screen. 8 inches in length, or in width or in diameter, whatever. It's 8 inches. It's on my right, and it has wired Android Auto and wired Apple CarPlay. And, you know, with a cheap accessory like this owner has installed, you can make both of those wireless. But me personally, I don't mind the wire because it charges my phone at the same time, and it works remarkably well. And I tend to find that wired Apple CarPlay or Android Auto connections tend to have slightly better sound. Now, that could just be a placebo, but I do truly believe in a car like this, it impacts your experience. And I have no issue with it. It works very, very well. And because of that, the fact that this car doesn't have Ford's newest Sync 4 doesn't matter, because I'm leveraging Apple CarPlay or Android Auto most of the time. So I have my GPS, I have my music, I have my podcast, I have my Zoom calling if I'm taking a conference call from the car. I have all of that functionality right in this vehicle. Next, the hits just keep coming, and they keep coming quick. For 2023, Ford introduced cruise control to the XL Maverick. That was not available on launch. If you wanted cruise control, you had to step it up in trim level, but now for $22,595 before destination, you can get cruise control. So let's summarize what we've talked about already, okay? You have pickup truck utility that can get 50 miles to the gallon with ease around town and high 30s on the highway. You have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You have cruise control, and you have tons of space, both inside and out of this vehicle. So what else do you need when it comes to a daily driver? Well, you need some comfort, right? Because none of that means anything unless this car is comfortable. Well, you're in luck. Because this car is on these Steelies, the side profile of these tires is humongous, which means this car absorbs bumps no problem. Now, in the beginning of this video, we talked about how I couldn't believe that the hybrid was cheaper than the EcoBoost in the Ford Maverick family. Well, one of the ways Ford was able to pull that off was the suspension. In the rear of this Ford Maverick, you have a more simple torsion suspension system, okay? And that tends to be bouncier. Now, Mazda might argue in the Mazda 3, which also leverages a similar setup, they're able to mask that with some crafty engineering. But in the Ford Maverick's case, it's just a very basic torsion suspension. If you opt for the EcoBoost, you get a multi-link, and that car handles the bumps with grace. But in XL trim, thanks to these Steelies with a massive profile, the tires sponge up a lot of what would have jostled the torsion beam rear end. And because of that, this car is actually composed on town roads. It doesn't jump, bounce, it doesn't hit anything, it doesn't go crazy. We're not hitting bump stops. We're going over road here that's pretty bad, and you see it's pretty smooth over it, and that's thanks in large part to these Steelies. So the XL trim is actually one of the comfier trims in Maverick hybrid form. But to be the best daily driver at $40,000 or under, you gotta do more than that, right? Well, maybe not. Let's think about what a daily driver is. A daily driver is a vehicle you drive, well, every day, and it hits everything you're looking to do, whether that's picking up your wife and kids from school with all their gear. You can do that. Whether it's bringing a soccer team's worth of gear to practice, you can do that. Going to Costco, Home Depot, any department store, it can do that. Going skiing, you can have your gear and everything in the back without it being inside the cabin with you. This car is just so practical because of its usability in a variety of different situations. Are there more comfortable vehicles out there for under $40,000? Yes. Are there more efficient vehicles out there for under $40,000? Yes. Are there more tech-forward vehicles for under $40,000? Yes. Is there a vehicle on the market today outside of the Hyundai Santa Cruz that can do everything this car does? No. No, there isn't. And even that Hyundai Santa Cruz is limited with the engines it provides, because this hybrid Maverick, this car right here, you can get 50 miles to the gallon in your daily around the town commute, and you can lug a whole bunch of stuff while doing it. The 2023 Ford Maverick is the best daily driver under $40,000, and this XL trim is the one I would recommend. While it doesn't have heated seats, it doesn't have a heated steering wheel, it doesn't have radar cruise control, you're spending $22,395 if you can get a dealer that won't rip you off. I'm Moneyshift. We'll see you in the next one.